You'll be glad to know I've still got another year left, but that's all right, beside the point. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel that I dressed like this for a reason, and that is simply scare tactics. My old Latin teacher used to do this to me. He used to step outside the light and eyeball every single one of us till we were scared to death. So I hope you feel the same, because I think we're all pretty petrified in the front here, that's for sure. Well, what I thought I'd do this evening is take a fairly unconventional approach by stating some ways in which I failed. And this is pretty much one of them. We, as 15-year-olds, were at a school not too far from London. And every single day, we used to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning. And while the rest of our classmates were fast asleep, and go down to Dover Harbour to train. This, I can assure you, is one of the worst experiences of your life. There's been some pretty horrendous stories this evening, but trust me, training in Dover Harbour is pretty godforsaken. We didn't have beards at that time, but we came out with little moustaches with all the poo and all the little grumming. Oh, it's so good. Anyways, that's what I used to do. And the challenge that I really failed at was this one. British schoolboys to swim around Barbados. We, again, trained and trained and trained, 6 a.m. every morning. And finally, it came, July 6th. It was a Thursday morning. And we were in the most emotional team huddle I've ever been in, 5 of us together. One of our challenges that were just ridiculous. There we all are, in fact. Looking pretty dashing, if I might say so myself. Anyways, we were on the brink of something that had never been done before. And we started, the first swimmer got in, I need to add, it's a relay. So one swimmer swam at a time, and we were taking on the island of Barbados, 100 kilometers around the island. And the weather got worse and worse, and we were separated from our mothership by a coral reef. So every single time the swimmer swapped over, we were left in the middle of the ocean to fend for ourselves against the jellyfish, the stingrays, and the sharks. So we were left out there in the middle of nowhere. But the weather was the final thing that really clinched the deal for us. It was, for one moment I could see the bottom, and the next minute the bottom couldn't see me. Anyway, so I lived from that, and I then took on a quote from Winston Churchill that said that success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. And I hope you can tell with this picture I've still got a fair bit of enthusiasm to jump off a mast into the frozen South Atlantic below. And I did a bit of a belly flop, but that just wasn't shown. Gladly. So how can you guys change all this success, all of my failures into relative success? What we did actually when we were in Barbados was to get up the next morning, having failed the day before, and swim at least half the island together in one. That was an example, if I might say, of imminent failure being turned into arguable success. It came out strange, didn't it? Doesn't matter. It's not important anyway. My link between failure and success, really, and a way that I tend to imagine this sort of picture of going from being so small and then achieving something so great as what's on your screen now is, if you were a mosquito, then you can cause great pain to someone at night. So if you think you're too small to make a difference, then try sleeping in a room with a mosquito. So anyway, my story of success. Finally, I managed to get onto it. It was the Tyso Trans-Greenland expedition of 2008. We broke the world record for the world's longest, fully unsupported polar journey. So that's both poles, both north and south. To put it in perspective with others, you start bringing up names like Sir Ranulph Fiennes, and Mike Stroud, and 2 great Norwegian explorers called Tori and Rune. And I need to get my facts right this evening, because there's a person in this room who works for a guy, and actually, Alistair is potentially going to come back and break our world record next year, so this better be good. And so we walked 1,374 miles, fully unsupported, up in the high Arctic. To tell the truth, I probably wouldn't go back and do it again. I get asked this question a lot. Would you go back and do it again? Why do you do it? And the answer is I probably wouldn't, because it took 2% of my life so far to do. I spent 4 months living in a tent with 1 boy. Yeah, why would anyone do that? Wasn't even a pretty blonde, but I did anyway. So we had very, very, very few luxuries. In fact, in this particular picture, there's only one luxury item, and you probably can spot it because it's right in the middle of the picture. It's the cup of tea. I had a cup of tea every 2 days. And this was like my luxury item. Tea bags weigh nothing. In polar exploration, weight is a lot. And tea bags weighed nothing, but I still only had enough for one every 2 days. We obviously had some fairly nasty injuries to incur, and I'm afraid we sort of protected our feet really well, so there's no gory pictures of feet. It's just our fingers that got a little bit done every now and then. And I'd like to say that our attitude towards polar travel was really good, because putting it into perspective again with Serrano Fines, he came back with a few fingers down, and Tori and Runa came back close to death. And luckily, Alex Hibbert and I came back relatively, or I said relatively, in pretty bad condition. I'd lost a couple of kilograms, and as you can probably see, I haven't got many kilograms to lose. But luckily, we managed to do it. Some of the hardships that we faced, aside from the obvious ones, it was the mental side was pretty dire. I said on live radio that the physical side would be much easier than the mental side. The hardest bit is being in your own head for 114 days or 4 months. No one really to talk to. There's no passers-by. There's no one else to really entertain you. It's just you. But the most embarrassing thing about this whole trip, I struggle to say it even now, is that was at the end of 4 months. So I had 4 months of beard growing, and I'm afraid that's all I ended up with. But I'm sure that in years to come I'll be able to grow one better. Thanks very much.